What's good with you? Gina versus Gina, best mind in the business is along with my sister Shannon. What's good? What's good? Snap at you photography. What's happening, fam? Mr. BS in the building. X Factor 14, go mob. How we do it? Ronald Woodman, salute, salute, salute everybody. Come on in. AK Lover 2660. What's good, fam? What's happening with you? Shout out to my fam in Saudi Arabia, coming from far and wide. Gun Food 2011. What's good? Black 007. What's happening with you? Lonnie Nellen. What's good, fam? What is good? We got a good one today, fam. Look, we got a lot to get through. And so your boy is going to try to make this as efficient as I possibly can. Real quickly, as far as giveaways go tonight, we got some good ones. We're going to be giving away, non-member giveaway, a tactical formulary mat to everybody who's eligible. Everybody's in the chat is eligible, member or non-member giveaway. So be aware of that. And then we have, and of course, with that, you'll get a 2A-N-LA patch and keychain. And then we're going to be giving away an O-Light O-Site K. So to members. So that'll be up at the very end. Marcus D, what's good, fam? Salute, salute. All right, fam, look. Look, fam, every year when this comes around, it gets a little crazy. It gets a little crazy. So I'm going to say this right now, fam. There are over 53 2011 manufacturers represented in the tiers. And so look, fam, I'm one voice of many. If you disagree with me about a particular company, that's fine. It's okay. Okay. It's okay. And so I'm all good with it. I don't take anything personally. Hopefully none of you will as well. Bang, bang, bama, salute. What's good, fam? All right, so look. I'm just going to hop in. People join in where they join in at. I want to make this easy and fluid. I want to kind of go over high level, some basic understanding about the tiers. So let me do this, put this over here. Let me share my screen. All right, so number one, let's start off with 2A-N-LA'S disclaimer. Coy, go mob, what's good? Disclaimers for my 2011 tiers. I got to do this. I shouldn't have to, but I do. So look, full disclosure for people who may be watching this for the first time, not familiar with my channel, or people who discover this after the fact. But I want to have a couple of things squared away. Number one, I'm not a high-level competition shooter. I am a capable shooter for certain. I'm not for play, for certain. But I'm not somebody who actively competes on a regular basis or anything like that. And so if you are looking at this from a competition shooter perspective, while I think there's a lot to be gleaned, I am not that, and there are other voices that can give you some more perspective there. The issue is I don't know very many competition shooters who are exposed to the number of 2011 firearms that I am, but want to put that out there. Number two, I'm not a gunsmith or a gun manufacturer. I'm not somebody, yes, I have a solid fundamental understanding of how these guns operate and function, but I'm not somebody who gunsmiths on a daily basis or regular basis or is paid to do that. And I'm not a gun manufacturer. If you're trying to look at this through that lens, other people you should talk to. And last but not least, look, fam, I've only been shooting 2011s now for about 5 years. And so obviously 2011's been around since 2011, right? And so if you're looking for somebody with a decade or more experience, there are certainly people who have more experience from a time perspective than I do. All right. So I just want to put that out there. Those are my quick disclaimers. Now, after Tactical Tina, what's good, sis? Now, look, after seeing that, you may ask yourself, well, okay, that's all. Hold on, what just happened? You may say, okay, well, that's, oh, there you go. I was like, huh? What's going on here? You may be like, okay, well, that's all well and good, but the flip side of that is kind of what are your qualifications to be doing the tiers? Well, number one, look, if you don't respect my opinion or whatever, I could care less. I'm not going to lose any sleep over that. Tatty Cops, what's good? But I think, you know, again, for people who don't watch the channel, may not know, there is a basis for me being the one producing these tiers. Number one, I own over 50 2011s, really closer to 55. By the end of the year, to be over 60. I have shot and or reviewed over 70 2011s over the last 5 years. I personally own 75% of the brands that are going to be represented in the tiers. And I've reviewed over 90% of the manufacturers that are going to be in the tiers. I have relationships and I've interviewed personally several of the manufacturers that will be represented in the here today. So I have a lot of inside information relative to how they operate, right? I have an ongoing dialogue with some of the major retailers, the largest retailers of 2011 platforms. I have relationships with them, whether that's Covert or Not Just Guns or 2A's on any number of others. So, and I communicate with them on a regular basis about what's being sold, what's not being sold, what's being returned, what's being sent back in for service. These are all things that I feel should be factored in going through the tiers. And if you don't have this kind of regular dialogue, you would not know. Facts. Appreciate that, Black 007. And then last but not least, fam, look, I shoot 2011s. I shoot 2011s over the last 4 years, fam. I have well over 100,000 rounds through the platform. It's probably closer to 150,000 rounds through the platform. That's a lot of rounds. I think by anybody's standards, that's a lot of rounds. All right. So those are the qualifications. Now, couple more, clean up items before we get too far in it. Let's talk a little bit about the criteria that I use to ascertain these tiers or to come up with these tiers. Wait, it's not showing. Oh, there we go. A little bit of delay there. I don't know what that was about. Okay, look. Number one, I'm looking at the quality of the components being used. The manufacturer of the components. Two people may make, that doesn't mean that the quality level is the same, and it doesn't mean that that manufacturer's track record for producing quality being used, as well as a track record of the manufacturer that's providing those components. I'm also looking into the firearm fitment. What is the fit and finish of the gun? How are these parts put together? How are they machined? How much can work has. I'm looking at the coating and the quality and the durability of that we're going to definitely be keeping an eye on relative to where we rate these various manufacturers. Equally important is the shooting experience. How reliable is it? How good is the trigger? What's the recoil impulse like? All, and then certainly the aesthetics and the design of the gun has a lot to do with it too. Are you giving us something from an aesthetic that we haven't seen, or something, some kind of design that we haven't seen before, or does your 2011 look like every other 2011 on the marketplace? Now, if you look, you will see that there is no mention of price. And there is a reason for that. Not that price isn't important or value isn't important, but affordability is very much in the eye of the beholder. Also, fam, I should mention this, that the reason why I started the tiers in the first place was not to hurt people's feelings. It was not to cause controversy or to get clicks or anything like that. I get hit up anywhere between 5 to 25 times a day in DMs and emails that say 2A-N-LA. What's better, this gun or that gun? What's better, this manufacturer or that manufacturer? I got $3,000. What's the best gun at that? I got $5,000. What's the best gun? So I started these tiers so people could have a reference point when they want to know what's better. You know what nobody ever asks me? 2A-N-LA. What price is cheaper, this gun or that gun? I never get asked that because everybody knows what the prices of these firearms are for the most part if they're thinking about buying it, right? And so you know what the price is. What you're trying to ascertain is what's better, right? What is better? And so what I would say is I'm creating these tiers so that you can figure out what your budget is, start from the very top and go down until you find a manufacturer producing guns at your budget. And that way, you know, you've got the highest quality manufacturer for your particular price point. And so I'm doing this as a community service. I'm doing this as a community service for my peoples. Okay. So that is the criteria. All right. Now we're getting there, fam. We're almost there. This year, similar to what I did last year, I decided to stay with an NBA theme. When I did this as kind of what you see on a lot of other tiers where there is, you know, where there's like S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, etc. What I found is that people who were getting like, you know, like C or D tier, they would be thinking to themselves that I think their gun is trash. And that is not the case at all. Look, I own 2011s, multiple 2011s at every tier that we're going to discuss. If I thought the guns were trash, I wouldn't buy them for myself. And so, but when you're trying to distinguish between a bunch of supermodels, it's small things. Are you guys experiencing delays and stuff? Let me know down in the comments. Because if not, I don't know if it's YouTube or whatever, but I will change up the my internet connection. I'm gonna change up my internet and see if it goes, if I can get it a little bit better. Okay, so the picture quad. So it's me, not the slides. Maybe it's the camera then. Um, all right, let me know if the picture quality is of me is any better. I just switched to another Wi-Fi. Okay, so oh my God, this is crazy. But GOAT, the best of the best of the best. Now it's buffering. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to my other. Oh, okay, so I put it back to my higher speed one. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so look, GOAT, best of the best of the best of the best. I'm not trying to say who. Um, then you got Hall of Fame, self-explanatory, right? All-star role. All of these guns are great. We're arguing about supermodels, but when you're trying to this thing where there's small last thing, I promise it's going to last thing is just because, and let me pull this one up so you have it as an example. And I used this example previously. Yeah, it's not even coming up. Yeah, fam, I'm not sure what's going on. Anyway, I can just talk you through this one. Just because guns are on there, finally, okay, just because guns are on the same tier does not mean that they're the same. As an example, Kobe Bryant, Ray Allen, both incredible players, both in the Hall of Fame, right? I don't think anybody would argue though that Ray Allen is a better player than Kobe Bryant was, right? Um, that said, I don't think that either would put Kobe in the argument for greatest of all time, per se. And I don't think you would just reduce Ray to just be an all-star player. He got two-time champion, 10 all-stars, etc. So they both belong in the Hall of Fame, but they're not equivalent. The same will be the case for some of these guns. Some may be on the same tier, but maybe one just barely got on that tier, and maybe the other one was really close to be on the tier before, but they end up on the same tier. So just be cognizant of that. All right? All right, let's get into the tiers. We'll see how long. Oh, that picked up pretty fast. Okay. All right. So there you have it. You got GOAT, Hall of Fame, All Star, role player, coming off the bench, and G League. Let me say what's up to my peoples real quick. Jason Parker, what's good? BTG in the building, what's good? Yogi, what's good? If I happen to miss anybody else, my sincere apologies. Burner Girl, if I haven't already said what's happening to you, sis? All right, look. Let's get let's get into it. All right. Got my little notes here. First up, AAF, Alpha American Firearms. So AAF is a company that I feel has come a long way. If you saw, I've done several reviews on AAF firearms, and if you saw last year, I think AAF was at an all-star level. And I said then, they make Hall of Fame quality guns. I just feel like their aesthetic was a little behind. They weren't doing full dust cover. They were still doing grip safeties. There wasn't a lot going on with their guns aesthetically. And I'd say in the last year, they've killed it. They've done an outstanding job at improving their aesthetic and modernizing their 2011. So AAF, putting them in the Hall of Fame for 2026. Next up, Accuracy X. Accuracy X has been around a long time, making quality firearms. Don't see a lot of them. You see more of them in the competition spaces. I like Black 007. You put an AAF in role player? I don't know. You're going to have to see who the other people are in role player and then tell me AAF belongs with them. Accuracy X, I feel like they have been around for a long time. They make good quality firearms. My boy, Team Blacksmith, speaks of them highly. I think they make good quality guns. I just think they're a little too sleepy. You don't see them enough. I'm going to put them at an all-star level. But good gun company. Next up is Akai. Look, I've reviewed several Akai pistols. The problem with Akai is they're kind of like a box of chocolates. You're never exactly sure what you're going to get. They always have really good triggers in them. They tend to be really good shooting guns. Aesthetic, they're a little bit. And I feel like their fit and finish is inconsistent. So while I think they make a good gun, I'm putting Akai at role player for 2026. All right, next up is Alchemy. So look, last year I they've been there, they've done that, they got the t-shirt where AAF was a little while ago, where their fit and finish is phenomenal, shootability is phenomenal, but not modernizing their aesthetic. They have that Glock mentality. If it's not broke, don't fix it. So for that, I'm putting them this year at the all-star level. All right. Next up, Alpha Foxtrot. Obviously, this is our first entry into kind of the budget space. I think as budget firearms go, Alpha Foxtrot makes a good value gun. They don't have the same kind of fit and finish as the guns that we talked about, though. Don't use the same level of componentry as we've talked about. Aesthetically, they're okay. I think they make a good quality budget firearm. For that, Alpha Foxtrot, we're putting them at coming off the bench. Again, good firearm, reliable firearm, but just a shade below. All right. Now, Atlas Gunworks. So this one tends to be a controversial pick. I'm just going to go just right off the rip and tell you I'm putting Atlas at GOAT level. Now, some people, particularly when we see who else hits GOAT, can make an argument that Atlas doesn't necessarily belong there. Here's my justification for putting Atlas at GOAT level. Atlas makes somewhere between 200 to 300 firearms a month off and has multiple models, right? They consistently produce the highest quality of production, non-custom production firearms that I've ever seen. On top of that, they are making parts for other firearms manufacturer on the GOAT level, Hall of Fame and All-Star level, etc. So it's very hard for me not to put Atlas at GOAT when other GOAT companies are using Atlas parts to make their guns. So for me, I have Atlas at GOAT level. All right. Next up, Bersa. Look, fam, I think again, this is a company that's relatively new, not new to the gun manufacturing space, but new to 2011s. They dropped their Bersa at 2 SHOT Shows ago, got proliferated more over the latter part of 2025, beginning of 2026. You've seen a lot of people review them. I think they make a good quality firearm. I'm gonna put, but still, you know, there's some mem parts in there. There is some, you know, polymer grip. You know, they don't do all of the things that you would see, that you would expect from something rated higher. So for Bersa, we're gonna put them at coming off the bench. All right. This next one is one that I get some grief for, and that's Bull Armory. I think Bull Armory innovates. I think that they, Black Double Seven, he says versus G League. We'll see. We'll see. I will say this at the end. I will give you a chance to talk me off the ledge on any pick. I think Bull Armory innovates. I think they're active. I think Bull Armory's issue is production. They don't produce enough in the U.S. They don't make the U.S. a priority. And consequently, there's not enough guns out here to meet the demand. But they're good shooting guns. Depending on which model you get, some still have MEM, some don't. Most of them have polymer grip modules that are okay. Few don't. When I look at them, I don't see the fit and finish level of the guns that you see at the All-Star level or Hall of Fame level, or definitely not GOAT level. So I'm putting Bull Armory at role player. And I think when you see the other guns that kind of line up there with Bull Armory, I think you'll think that that makes a lot of sense. Hopefully. All right. Next up, Cabot Guns. So Cabot was another one where I put them at Hall. Comes to 1911 double stacks / 2011s. They really only make the Insurrection. Now they have, and that gun is a great gun. I own it. I reviewed it. It's quality, absolutely. But again, I feel like they got to catch up. They're running the risk of being very similar to which was the one we were just talking about. The company that they own, right? The other company that they own. And so Alchemy. I'm sorry, skip my mind. So they're running the risk of being like Alchemy, where they need to do more now. They've announced a new model. We've seen it. It looks great. Don't have it in our hands. Ain't no telling when we getting it. So until Cabot starts doing a little bit more, we're going to put them at the All-Star level. All right. Next up is Cardinal Arms. So look, fam, I'm a fan of Cardinal Arms. I think the quality level of their firearms is very, very close to Atlas level quality. Now, they're not producing in the quantity that Atlas is, and they're not producing the multitude of models that Atlas does, but I think that they are very, very good. Now, I was debating whether they should be at All Star or Hall of Fame. And I was leaning more towards All Star. And then I got to another company, which is coming up. And I felt like, oh, that company is so good. Then I remembered who makes their guns for the most part. And I was like, well, if I'm going to have them in the Hall of Fame, I got to put Cardinal Arms in the Hall of Fame. So look, fam, the parent company of Cardinal Arms is Optimum. If you don't know Optimum, Optimum has been manufacturing, private labeling guns for some of the most well-known 2011 manufacturers out there. And they make parts for some of the most well-known companies out there. In many sense, they're like a little Atlas. So they don't certainly warrant GOAT status, but I'm putting them in the Hall of Fame. I think that may be a tough pill to swallow for some, but I think that's where they belong. All right, I'm going to put these next two guns because they're right behind each other at the same time. Look, some of you guys have probably never even heard of these companies. They are small custom builders. They make incredible firearms, arguably as good at firearm, as good a 2011 that you can possibly make in terms of fit and finish and shootability. Some would argue that their guns are GOAT status worthy. My issue with them primarily is that I feel like aesthetically, they are not there with some of the other guns, without some of the other custom builders that are going to be on the GOAT status or the GOAT level. And so I can't put them that high, but they make incredible guns. And that's Charon Customs and Chambers. I'm sorry. The names are so simple. I always mix them up. Charon and Chambers Customs. They make very, 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 very high quality 2011s. The backlog to get one is ridiculous. That's crazy. And that's because they make a great gun. Hey 2A, is the Hayes class worth it? Stay tuned, bro. We're gonna get to Hayes. They're on here. Stand by. We'll see where they end up. All right, next one. This is another one I was kind of conflicted with, and that's CNC Gunworks. So look, I would say, look, fam, what was the case yesterday may not be the case today, may not be the case tomorrow. A lot of these situations are fluid. Thomas, my guy, what's good with you? David Garcia, salute. So what I would say is one of the knocks on CNC is that they were kind of new. They were asking higher prices to be a relatively new platform. And I think some would argue that their QC / fit and finish was a little spotty early on. I think if you've looked at the offerings that they put forth recently, the Akira, it's an amazing gun. And now they've got an island barrel version of it that's even more attractive and ridiculous. I think they have their finger on the pulse and they're adapting to the market in real time. They're doing what I feel like some of these other gun manufacturers who are just content with the same old are not doing. And so I'm going to reward them for that. For CNC, I'm putting them at the all-star level. All right, let's keep it moving. Next up, in my opinion, this next gun manufacturer is one of the most underrated gun builders out there. People hear me talk a lot about the Hayes of the world and the Venoms of the world and the Raffertys of the world, and rightfully so. Those builders are incredible. But I will tell you that Chris James and Combat Precision, I don't know, and I think Chris said this in the interview that I did with him. I don't know if Chris does anything better than any of the other builders out there. What I will say, though, is he arguably does everything better than all of them collectively. From designing, from the designing of the gun, before you even get designed, from thinking about the idea to designing it on a computer to bringing that computer vision into reality, and then manufacturing, fit, finish, shootability, all the things. Not many people. He could be the best all around custom builder out there. Love what Chris James does. I'm putting him in the Hall of Fame. And I tell you, fam, if he keeps this trajectory, I think he's going to be GOAT one day, in my opinion. All right. Next up, Cosent Arms. This is another one of those manufacturers that I felt if you looked at them some years back, you would say, oh, they make some quality guns. Their fit and finish, their consistency is not where it needs to be. And I feel like they're another company that has evolved in kind of real time and just fine-tuned and fine-tuned and fine-tuned. And now they make some of the best 2011s out there. In my opinion, they make the best concealed carry 2011s out there for sure. And while price is not a factor here, I do think bang for the buck, they make some incredible 2011s. So for Cosent, we're putting them at the all-star level. All right, next up, Dark Forge. Look, fam. The makers of the Wraith, the makers of the Reaper, very, very similar to Cardinal Arms. Dark Forge has been around making guns for a very long time, private label for other companies, well-known companies. And I feel like they killed it with the design as well as the fit, finish, shootability of the Wraith and Reaper. I think they are headed towards the Hall of Fame. I just don't think they've had quite enough runway yet to put them there. So I'm going to put Dark Forge at the all-star level. But it would not surprise me in the years to come if we find them in the Hall of Fame, maybe even GOAT level. Because in terms of their production capability, they have similar production capabilities as Atlas does. And that's why you see a lot of these companies come out with a good gun and it's available early on and then nada. and then nada. Then they're back ordered for months and months. Dark Forge has the production capacity to put out high volume of guns, and that's why you see they're readily available despite having an insane demand. Black 007 says Dark Forge is Hall of Fame. Look, there's a case to be made there for sure. I have them at borderline. I'm leaving them at all-star for now, but I think they're a great, great firearm. All right, next up, Fowler. Look, I think Fowler makes one of the most aesthetically pleasing guns out there, and the aesthetics wouldn't mean anything if the gun wasn't an incredible shooter. But their full-size and compact guns are amazing. I like that they'll do one-off kind of specialty guns as well. Mix it up. They stay relevant. They have a rabid fan base that loves their guns. And last year they were at all-star level. I think their consistency warrants putting them at the Hall of Fame level. Now, look, some people would diss another company that I have coming up because they say, oh, well, their guns may be good, but they don't make their own guns. Okay, this is what the company I was talking about earlier. Cardinal Arms, or their parent, more specifically their parent, makes a portion, a part, or all in some instances of Fowler firearms. And so if I think Fowler is the bomb, which I do, I'm also saying that Cardinal Arms is the bomb. And so I have Fowler in the Hall of Fame. That's up a year from All-Star. I wouldn't be mad. Like Black 007, he says he thinks Fowler is All-Star. I'm not mad at that take. I think it's one separation of distance. I have them there for now. You guys can talk me out of it later if you see fit. All right, next up, Fusion firearms. Look, you guys know I am a big fan of Fusion. At that kind of entry level 2011 price point, the $800 to $1,500. I don't know if anybody is giving you more for your money. You got a comp pistol, you got a ported pistol, you got an LO pistol, you got crazy different finishes, right? They are really, really giving it to you now. And they're great shooting guns. They're great shooting guns. And so I like them a lot. I think they're really, really good. It's hard when you see, I was tempted to put them in role player this year. Last year, they were at coming off the bench. I was tempted to put them at role player this year. But when I looked at the other guns that filled out role player, I still feel like they're just a level below, but excellent guns, excellent value guns. Winner of the best budget 2011 and 2025 at the 2A-N-LA Heat Check Awards. I have them, though, at coming off the bench. All right. Next up is Gerson. It's a good gun. There aren't any bad guns, in my opinion, on this list, as I said in the beginning. But I do feel like Gerson is a step below Alpha Foxtrot, even a step below Bursa, definitely a step below Fusion. So I think I had them in the G League last year. They go back in the G League this year. All right, next up is GP Arms. So again, I don't know how many people have heard of GP Arms. Sound off in the chat if you have. But GP Arms makes a good entry level 2011. They remind me a lot of Bull Army. Maybe not quite there, but close. And for that price, kind of that sub 2000 price point, they're one of the better offerings in that price range. So if you're not familiar with them, you should get familiar with them. I was very close to putting them in role player, but I think I'm going to put them in coming off the bench. And I can tell you that they are probably one of the pride of that category. Some of the best, arguably the best gun manufacturer in the coming off the bench tier. All right, next up, Gun Crafters. So Gun Crafters last year I had in the Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, and that's because I felt like they produced Hall of Fame level firearms in terms of the quality of the gun, shootability, fit and finish, all that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yo, homie, anything from Turkey is in the WNBA. Well, that's a lot of guns. That's a lot of these lower tier guns. Most of these lower tier guns are Turkish imports. They're either being made in Turkey and brought over, or the parts are manufactured in Turkey are brought over. So you would have to carve out most of coming off the bench in the G League as WNBA. So just take that in mind. But like I was saying for Gun Crafters, they were Hall of Fame last year because they make some high quality firearms that are great shooters. I feel like, though, they are suffering from what AAF suffered from previously, which is that the market is gapping them. It is, people are separating themselves. They got to start making full length dust covers that look is that 1911 look makes your gun look dated. They got to get rid of the grip safeties. They got to do a little bit more relative to their design and aesthetic. But the guns are so good, I can't put them any lower than All-Star. But that's where they find themselves in the 2026 tiers. All right. Next up, Hayes Customs. I believe one of my guys asked me about Hayes earlier. Look, I ain't going to waste a lot of time with Hayes. Hayes is GOAT. Hayes is GOAT. They make, I call them the Rolls Royce of 2011s. There's not a lot of flash there, but they are aesthetically beautiful and some of the best made guns and best shooting guns you will find in the marketplace, without a doubt. Hayes is him. Oh, that company is him. I know it's brothers, but they're them. They are them. That is an excellent, excellent firearm. All right. And since we're talking about GOATs, let's not waste any more time and go ahead and put Infinity up there as well. Look, let me say this about Infinity. I think a case can be made that relative to the custom builders like Hayes and others that find themselves on the GOAT tier, that Infinity, while very close, might be just a smidgen below them in fit and finish. But where Infinity blows everybody out of the water by a major distance is the aesthetics of their gun. And it's not just the aesthetic, fam. It's the design. I said this about Chris James, and having interviewed Brandon, I can tell you that the thought process that goes into coming up with the concept, to be able to bring that into fruition, their firearms are so detailed and so different. It is art. It is functional. Momo. It is functional art. There is nobody producing firearms. Their use of titanium, their willingness to go out on the limb with a design choice. I just think they're doing it. And they're doing it at a higher level than any of the other custom builders in terms, when I say higher level, in terms of the amount of volume that they produce. I mean, Infinity's producing like 600 guns a year as compared to, say, a Hayes, which is probably around 100, it maybe a Rafferty or Venom that's around 50 or so. So no, they are doing it at a super high level, making many, many more of them and more complex designs. And so, yeah, Infinity fully belongs in GOAT. Gun Fu, I think. Hold on. Let me address a couple of these real quick. I apologize in advance. I can't address every comment because it's just, we got too much to get through. But I want to address this because I hear this a lot. Look, here's what I would say, Barnick and Bull. I think here's what I love about Infinity. I think not every Infinity gun is for me. I don't look at every Infinity gun and be like, oh, I got to have that. No. And Brandon will tell you he doesn't hit it out of the. There's usually 2 or 3 guns on every drop that are wows. And they're great shooters. And so, yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with you there. I do think that some of their designs are too over the top for me, but those guns aren't for me. They're for somebody else. Those guns probably aren't for you either. They're for somebody else. And they love those guns, right? They make enough guns that I think are more conservative, that are more of my palette, where I could still own 20 Infinities, all of them be bomb, and all of them be totally unique. And nobody else is doing that out there. Nobody. So I got to give credit where credit is due. Conversely, my man Gun Fu, I'm not going to put Infinity on a different level because I think when you talk about some of the other builders that are on GOAT, while Infinity laps them in terms of the number of amazing designs that they have from fit, finish, quality, and beauty, Infinity, you know, I think they belong on the same level. I'm just saying like that. Like that. Yeah, they have a big market in Asia, but look, if Infinity stopped selling all of their guns in Asia, they would still sell out all of their guns here in the US. Every year, there's going to be 600 people who will line up to buy the 600 guns that Infinity produces here in California. On one drop, I think per drop, they make somewhere between 10 or 15 of these guns, and they have 600 people trying to buy that one. Sometimes over 1,000 trying to buy those 15. So yeah, bro. I think Infinity is doing it. Hey, Airplane, what's good, fam? Haven't seen you in a minute. Benny, what's good? What's good? Hey, look, I think you do, Momo. Momo, hit me up, bro. We got to get on the calendar to get out to Infinity too. All right, look, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. Next up, Jacob Gray. Look, I want all of you guys to go back to last year's tiers, and I think last year Jacob Gray was at a role player level, and I said then, look, Jacob Gray is not messing around with it. I knew what was coming. I told y'all I was very tempted to make Jacob Gray an all-star last year, but at that time, the Nox 9 hadn't dropped and other guns had their new offerings hadn't dropped, but I knew they were coming. I warned y'all. So look, Jacob Gray, all-star level now. Jacob Gray is not messing around with it. They are doing it expeditiously. All right. Next up, we got Kimber. Look, I feel like Kimber has come in and they said, look, I'm going to take Staccato's lunch money. I'm going to give you something that shoots like a Staccato, that is aesthetically more pleasing than a Staccato, and I'm going to give it to you a little bit cheaper. And then I think they saw all these Turkish import guns and that were at, $1,000 range. Oh, y'all want to play? We got something for y'all too. And then they dropped $8,000 guns. So look, I think Kimber is doing it. I'm putting Kimber up at role player. That's up from coming off the bench last year, if my memory serves correct. All right, next up, Custom Works. Custom Works is at the same place they were last year. I think they make a really good firearm. I've handled the gun. I've shot the gun. It's a good-looking gun, aesthetically beautiful gun, very well done. Not enough of them out in the wild, though, to get more momentum rolling. And it's a single-person shop, so I'm not mad at that, too. They also, I think, are a good value proposition, although we're not factoring price in here. I'm going to put Custom Works up at role player. I think there's an argument to be made that they're at an all-star level. I just think they got to produce more. And I would like to see a little improvement in their fit and finish and their consistent quality firearm. All right. Next up, Lago Arms. Now look, Lago Arms doesn't make 2011s. So for all of y'all about to say Lago Arms in 20, I know. But I get asked about it so much. It is a competition pistol. So I thought I would throw it in. I feel like they continue to innovate. They continue to evolve. They continue to improve on the design. I have Lago Arms at all-star level. Now, BTG, who owns a Custom Works gun, and I've shot his Custom Work gun, I think it's a good gun. Again, I'll leave room at the end for you guys to talk me out of any of these. All right. Next up, Legion Precision. Look, I love Legion Precision. Love them, love them, love them. They make great guns. Mr. Carl makes a great 2011. I feel like value-wise, it's a good buy. You're getting a lot of quality there for the price point. He was down for a while. He moved from one state to another. He wasn't really producing at the rate he had historically. I think he's starting to wrap up production now. He's starting to do some new drops. I think he has the capability to be in the Hall of Fame one day. Right now, I got him at all-star level. All right, next up, Limcat. Look, Limcat has been, no, Ray City Defense is there. They're coming. Limcat is one that that's been around for a long time, very popular on the 2011 scene. People, back in the day, people would have had Limcat at GOAT. I just think I've seen enough of their gun. Akai is at role player. Yeah, they're at role player, Barnack Bull. I just feel like a little bit too inconsistent for me. And ironically, I think Limcat has a lot of that. Limcat has a lot of Akai in there. You get one gun, it's amazing. You get another gun, it's got some fit and finish issues. You get another gun, it's got some reliability issues. The next gun is perfection and amazing. I just feel there's too much of that. You don't see them in a lot of spaces either. So I am going to put Limcat at role player. And I skip Live Free Armory. So let's try to address them now. Live Free. Again, no shade. I don't think it's a bad gun. It's not a terrible gun. I just don't think it rises to the level of Alpha Foxtrot, Bursa, certainly not GP Arms or Fusion. So I'm putting Live Free at G League. All right. Next up, Military Armament Corporation. Again, I didn't like them a lot. I didn't like their initial offering. I think they're coming around, though. I think they're coming around. I think their more recent comp models and some others, they continue to get better. I'm upgrading them. I think last year they were G League. I'm pulling Military Arms Corp at coming off the bench. All right, next up, Mercier. Remember earlier when I was telling you guys about Charn and Chambers? The other company that I feel makes guns that are equally as good, arguably, as the Hayes of the world, the Raffertys of the world, the Venoms of the world is Mercier. Again, I think he does a lot of like Prodigy and other gun remakes where he builds them up, and those are incredible. And then he makes his own custom guns as well. Eric's a genius. So I just think aesthetically, his guns are a step down. I think aesthetically, his guns are a step down, but certainly worthy of being in the Hall of Fame. All right, next up, Miller Precision. Look, Miller's killing it. That new version 2 Miller Covert gun is stupid good. Stupid good. And then he has got a 4.6, a 5, a 4 1/4. He's doing it, and he's listening, and he is improving with every gun that is coming out of the door. I'm putting Miller Precision at the all-star level. All right. Now, people are going to be, hey, Denton, what's good, my man? MBT, no problem, bro. No problem at all. Jay, what it do, fam? Todd McBride, what's good with you? Todd, we're gonna get to MPA soon. Oh, they're next up. So, Masterpiece Arms. If we have time and if the internet isn't messing with us, I will do a real quick tiers, not going through all of them, but just like GOAT Hall of Fame All-Star for value buys, if you guys want me to do that. If I did, there's no doubt in my mind that MPA would be at a GOAT level on a value basis. They make really good firearms, really good quality components. They, like some of these other companies, they remind me of Cosin. Like MPA back in the day made a good gun, but it's a little shaky. Like fit and finish will be a little shaky. Consistency be a little shaky. They have evolved. They are making great firearms now. They are innovating. I love what they are doing. Hey, CM McKee, what's good, fam? C McKee, what's good? So I am upgrading Masterpiece Arms this year. I think they were role player last year. I'm putting MPA up at all-star level. They're out here doing the damn thing. So shout out to Masterpiece Arms. All right. This next one, I think people are going to be mad at me. Maybe not the people in this chat, but some people, somebody somewhere, going to be pissed. Nighthawk. So look, last year I had, and I think for the last several years, I've had Nighthawk in the Hall of Fame, and half the people agreed with me. Half the people were mad. A quarter of the people were mad and felt like they should be GOAT, and a quarter of the people were mad, felt like they should be All-Star. Here's what I'm going to say about Nighthawk. I feel like they're becoming stagnant. I think that their signature gun, which is the Sandhawk, is Cerakoted. I think their designs are becoming a little dated. And I think that even though they're amazing shooting guns, let's not get it twisted. Let's not go crazy. Even though they're amazing shooting guns, like that theme that they have, one gun, one gunsmith, that's cool when all your gunsmiths are the bomb, but when some of your bomb gunsmiths have left to start their own shops, when some like AAF, and others, when some of your newer gunsmiths are not on that level, then it can be problematic. When I talk to dealers and they tell me that a significant amount of Nighthawks have to go back for warranty work, it affects me. So I am moving Nighthawk from Hall of Fame to all-star level. I know a lot of people are going to be offended by that. I'm sorry, not sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry. That's where I got Nighthawk now. All right, let's keep it pushing. OA Defense. Look, fam, I don't know. Look, I'm not an OA Defense fan. I'm not a fan of their 2311. I think it's gotten better. I don't like the aesthetic look of it. I'm not a huge fan of the feel of it. I think it's a good shooting gun. Look, all of these guns are good shooting guns, though. Everyone, all the ones that are in the G League are good shooting guns. Some people love OA Defense. I don't have that same kind of reverence for them. So I'm putting them at coming off the bench. They're one of the better offerings at coming off the bench for certain, but that's where I got them. I don't think they're at Limcat, Custom Works, Bull Armory, Akai, Kim. I don't think they're on that level. So I got OA Defense as coming off the bench. All right. This next one is going to be controversial too, especially in light, given their pedigree, given their years of experience. In my opinion, they should be at GOAT level. Given the number of offerings that they have, they should be at GOAT level. I just think that I don't know, man. Some of it is at their own doing. Some may not be. Some may just be internet fodder, but they can't seem to catch a break. They can't seem to get out of their own way. Um, and while I think they make aesthetically beautiful guns and they make a variety of them, and they're doing the things that they need to do, I think historically they've been a little tone deaf from the customer service and the quality control perspective. They blamed the user for gun failures and things like that. I think they're trying to get better, but it's a struggle. That said, let's not get crazy. They still make a really good gun. I got Phoenix Trinity at all-star level. All right. Next up, my man MBT was asking about race. Oh, I'm sorry. My sheet is a little bit different. Okay, yeah, we're not gonna waste a lot of time. Rafferty, go! Ah! Go! Look, fam. I'm gonna just keep it 100 with you. When it comes to quality, I'm not talking just aesthetics. I'm talking about the fit and finish, the way the gun feels, and the way the gun shoots. In my humble opinion, nobody is better than Rafferty and Venom. In my opinion, they make the best quality gun. Now, they don't have the design and all of that Infinity has, but just in terms of the fit and finish, I don't know if anybody makes a better gun than Rafferty and Venom in my book. All right, so Rafferty GOAT, easy. That's one of the easiest calls of the day. All right, next up, Race City Defense. I feel like my boys at Race City just got started, but I tell you, they're another company that has their ears to the streets. They're another company that is constantly evolving, constantly improving, constantly giving you alternative. What they've done with this core gun at that price point is amazing. The Mod 2 hit Grail gun status. I think they're out here killing it. It is not going to surprise me at all if this time next year we're talking about Race City Defense being in the Hall of Fame. For now, I have them at All-Star. And I think last year I had them at Role Player. So that's a step up. That's a step up from where they were a year before. Race City Defense making great guns. All right. Rock Island Armory. Rock Island was an early budget, came out with a very early on budget 2011 to the marketplace. My issue is they really haven't done anything since. And I don't know. I don't think they're taking this 2011 double stack thing. They're not prioritizing it. And so I had them at G League last year. They remain at G League this year. All right. Let's talk about SIG. The GTO is great, fam. And they're making different variants. I'm telling you, SIG and Kimber are not for play. They're like, okay, what? Look, I get they wet the bed or crap the bed, however, whatever phrase you want to use with the P320 and how they handled it. They are storming back with this GTO. And that gun is a great shooter for the price. And again, I'm not factoring in price here, so that's not going to be reflected up there. But for the price, you're getting a great value gun. I don't remember where I had SIG last year off the top of my head, but I feel like they belong squarely in that role player level. All right, that is SIG. Next up, Springfield Armory. Where do I have Springfield? Yep. You know, look, fam, I feel like Springfield was an early comer to that budget market. They took it over, and they have let Kimber and SIG kind of steal their lunch money. I can't put them up there with those guns, and certainly not the other ones. But I think they're firmly in the coming off the bench category, in my opinion. All right. Next up, the king of 2011s. You can only have one, you can only own one if you're a hero. If you're not a hero, non-heroes need not apply. Staccato is the biggest 2011 builder on the planet. And look, they make very, very reliable guns. They make very good quality guns. No shade. I just think that they need to do more. I know that sounds crazy. Look, Staccato don't need to listen. They can do whatever they want to do. They killing it. They killing the game. So as far as a business model goes, Staccato is killing it. But in terms of me rating them, kind of best of the best of the best of the best, I would put Staccato at role player, very similar to a Bull Armory, a Kimber, a SIG type firearm. All right, next up, Stealth Arms. Look, I think Stealth Arms makes a good gun. I love what they've done with the comp. We're going to get a comp into the channel to review. Again, technically Stealth Arms is not a 2011, but it's okay relative to that. They're close enough for government work. I think a lot of people own them. A lot of people talk about them. I think they make a good quality gun, good optionality, fit and finish is decent. I don't think it's in line with the guns that you see at the role player level. So we're putting them at coming off the bench. And if you're starting to look at coming off the bench, fam, I think you're starting to see that Stealth Arms, that the coming off the bench category has some very good, Black has some very good offerings there. I couldn't agree more. If all they made was the XC, I would say they're at an all-star level. But I think all of their other HD series guns and other HD series guns and their like the P and C series, those guns are kind of at a role player level. All right, and of course we're looking at the companies in their totality. All right, Terran Tactical Innovations, always controversial. Let me say this about Terran Tactical. Who said that? Here is at least a road. Okay. So let's think about what you're saying, BTG. You're saying that Stealth Arms is on the same level as an Akai, the same level as your Custom Works. I don't believe you believe that. The same level as Bull Armory. I don't think they are, bro. I don't think they are. I think they're just a shade. Great guns, just a shade below. All right, Terran Tactical. Look, aesthetically, Terran Tactical's guns goes. Shootability, arguably goes. Tenure in the space, goes. I think the criticism of his guns are twofold. Number one, they say he doesn't manufacture his own guns. Historically, that has been true. Now it is not. He has brought all his manufacturing in-house. And I will say that the quality, since he's brought it in-house, has gone up. I was concerned it was going to drop. It is actually going up. If you look at the newest rendition of the Sand Viper, the newest rendition of the Viper, those guns are better made than the historical guns that he outsourced. And I think he's been doing it a long time. The Combat Master series, before the Viper series. I mean, I just feel like he's cemented. I don't feel like he has the fit finish quality to put him on a GOAT level, but I am putting him at the Hall of Fame level. CK Kev, what's good? It's all good, fam. It's all good. All right. Triarch. Triarch reminds me very much of a Kai of Limcat, where there's just a lack of consistency there, particularly at their price point. Not their price is a concern here, but I can't, in good faith, put them up there with other guns that cost less money that have better build quality. And I don't know if it's build quality, it's just consistency. It's like some of these companies are like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And if you're paying $5, $6, $7,000 for a gun, I damn well want to know what I'm getting. So I'm putting Triarch at role player. All right. Next up, speaking of this. Now look, this company, I have this gun, they only make one 2011, and that's the EG11. You guys know I had a love-hate relationship with that gun. I had issues with it when I first got it, and that has been a consistent theme with Type A. Now, I happen to know that things are in the works, and I think the company is well positioned for a turn, but they haven't turned yet. They're just well positioned for it. And so while I think it's a great shooting gun and all of that, they got to be, the manufacturing isn't consistent enough for me. So they go the route of Triarch, Limcat, Akai. They're at the role player level. All right, this next one, I said it earlier, ain't nothing changed. Venom, GOAT. Look, I did a video over there about a few weeks ago about Game Changer 2011s and my 2011 journey. And just in that video, just shooting that video, I started off with my Staccato P, which was the first 2011 I ever bought. Then I went to my XC because I felt like that was the gateway gun. Then I went to my Erebus because I was like, oh, I didn't think they could get better than the XC. And then I got my Erebus and I was like, oh, it can get better than an XC. Then when I got my Venom, I was like, oh, shit. There's even another level. Yeah, fam. Like I said, Venom Rafferty with Hayes, real close third. I think they make some of the best quality guns out there. Hard to dispute that. And they're aesthetically beautiful. And so, yeah, they're killing the game. Venom, GOAT level. All right, we're getting into the home stretch. Let's do Viking firearms. If you guys haven't heard of Viking, if you haven't been following them, get out from under that rock. They're out here making noise. Jacob at Viking is out here killing it. That bulk knot is crazy beautiful. I've seen a lot of his custom guns are insanely beautiful. That hell that he's releasing is crazy. Stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for something with me and Jacob and Jeff from the Weapon Collective. Stay tuned. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say. But look, Viking is killing it out here. I just wish he was producing more volume, so more people could get their hands on his guns. Hasn't been a long enough run for me to put him at Hall of Fame, but he is deserving. He is definitely an all-star for sure. He is definitely all-star. But yeah, I do have all 5 GOATs, multiples, either already have or coming from the 5 GOAT level. So no doubt. Next up, Voodoo. Okay, look, Voodoo came out killing it. They produced a quality firearm at a value-based price. And then they went through a series of changes, of ownership changes. And quality fell off, production fell off. for a while there, you couldn't even get people to answer the phone. And so, again, I can't look. In theory, they should be at an all-star level, but they fall the way of a Kai, of Limcat, of Triarch, of Type A. They're a role player in my book. They're a role player in my book. All right. Next up, Voodoo Gunworks. I'm sorry, I did Voodoo Gun. Next up, Vulcan Machine Works. I'm sorry. I love what Vulcan does. I don't think anybody, I should say that. They make an aesthetically unique, beautiful gun. If you followed my coverage and other people's coverage for SHOT Show, now they've got the island barrel dropping and they're killing it. The problem is for me, they're not, and Jeremy, talking to Jeremy, he, told me this personally, so I'm not saying anything out of school here. They just really struggled with production and meeting the demand. I'm back, fam. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. My bad. My bad. Okay, let me share my screen again. All right, fam. My bad. Hopefully it'll come up momentarily. We're almost at the finish line. We're almost at the finish line. Hopefully. Okay, there we go. All right, look. And speaking to Jeremy about Vulcan Machine Works, they've had that part, Brian. It could have been that. And speaking to Jeremy, they just had issues with production and being able to keep up with demand. I'm going to put them at role player level. I think very similar to Staccato in terms of feel. I think aesthetically, very, very nice. I just think production needs to step it up a bit. Next up is Watchtower. They too have had their issues. I think though that for the price, they certainly make one of the best offerings. That's an Atlas parts kit that their guns are built off of, and I think they're still producing very, very, very high quality. Now they're producing higher quality guns. I think their QC has gotten better. It looks like they've turned a corner. I love the componentry. I'm putting them at role player. Just too much noise around them still, but it wouldn't surprise me if they're up at all-star level in a year from now. All right, last but not least, Wilson Combat. Technically, Wilson Combat isn't a 2011 either. It's a 1911 kind of format. I think they make really quality guns for the price, good shooting guns. And so I'm putting them at role player. All right, look, those are 2A-N-LA'S 2026-2011 tiers. All right. I will leave a short window because I don't know what's going to go on with this internet. CB, what's good, fam? I will leave a short window up for anybody who wants to talk me off of any of these picks, or if there is somebody that I have missed that you want to talk about. So I'll turn the floor over to you guys for the moment. BTG says Sigs can drop down to coming off the bench. I need a more compelling argument. You think Sig is on the same level as Alpha Foxtrot, Bursa, Fusion, GP Arms, the Mac 9? I don't know about that one. Legion Precision is at all-star level, Denton. Black King, that's a fact. That's a fact. Listen, while I got you guys here, I will say this. If you can find ammo for an affordable price, now is a good time to buy it. Now is a good time to pile up a little bit relative to that, because I think prices are going to continue to go back up before they come back down. Okay, so some people have a little concern. Jay says he feels like Sig is a dress up P320. It doesn't shoot like a P320. Look, I had a hooked up, upgraded P320 X5 Legion, and it did not shoot like the Sig. I'll say that. That gun is flat. Black 007 said, I got the goats correct. That's all that matters. Okay. So look, fam, real quick, let me do this. Let me do this. For those people who are looking at this, again, price is not a factor, right? It's not a consideration. So again, I wanted some people, I just wanted to rate them by what I thought were the best guns. Now, and I do that because I think when people start adding in price and value into the mix, your tiers start to look crazy. You'll have Hayes next to OA Defense or some nonsense like that. And so I don't do it that way. But if people want to know from a value basis, still not a price perspective, but from a value basis, which are the value kind of GOATs, Hall of Fame, All-Stars. Let me read them off to you real quick. I'm not going to do it on screen because, like I said, the internet is interneting right now. But GOATs for value tiers: Masterpiece Arms, Miller Precision, Cosin Arms, Legion Precision, Race City Defense. If you're looking for kind of the best bang for the buck guns, those are the 5 companies that I would start with. Next to Atlas is Hayes, CKK. It's Hayes. All right. On that next tier, I would put Sig. I would put Kimber. These are Hall of Fame value buys. I would put Sig, Kimber, Custom Works, and Watchtower. I feel like you get a lot of bang for your buck with those firearms. And then at the all-star level, I will put Bull Armory, Staccato, GP Arms, Fusion Firearms, and Stealth Arms. So those are kind of my GOAT, Hall of Fame, and all-star level value buys. Like bang for the buck buys. You can't afford an Atlas or a Hayes or a Rafferty or some of these higher end guns, you got, 4,000 and less. These are the guns that I would be looking at. MPA, yep. Miller, yep. Bull, yep. Yeah, I think all of those are great value buy guns. You can't go wrong with any of those. Any of those. All right, let's get into the giveaway, y'all. Let's get into the giveaway. So, like I said, we're giving away a tactical formulary mat. Let me share my screen real quick. Giveaway tool. Share. All right, for a tactical formulary mat as well as a 2A-N-LA patch and keychain, put hashtag tactical in the chat. All right, look, fam, I'm going once, going twice. Hey, Black King, DM me and let me know where you got the PMC from. All right, again, going once, going twice. Let's go. Oh, True Shot. Okay, bet. Did you use code 2A-N-LA? Come on now. Stop playing with your boy. All right, Yogi. Congrats, fam. Congrats. Okay, look, Yogi, shoot me your address and I will get that out to you. Although I think you're in Puerto Rico. Hopefully I can send it to you and it ain't going to cost me a crazy amount of money. But shoot your address. If Gina could put down in the chat the email address for you to send it to, but it's TWOANLA@gmail.com. All right, and now let's share screen again. All right. This one is for the O-Side K as well as the 2A-N-LA patch and keychain. Let's spin it. Oh, CK Cab, you was close, bro. You was close, but Guns Explained Easy is the winner. So look, I don't think I've seen Guns Explained Easy in the chat, but Gun Explains Easy. Hopefully, what you will see, Black King, I'll send you a link. Hopefully, what you will see You'll see this on the follow-up, and you have until the next live to claim your prize. If not, it goes back into the kitty. All right, fam, look, I'm going to quit while I'm ahead, while I'm behind. The internet has not been friendly to your boy, but it is okay. I appreciate everybody hanging in there through all of the issues or whatever. I don't know what's going on with the internet, but between now and the next live, I'll get it all ironed out. All right, look, that's it for this evening, fam. Thanks for hanging out with your boy. Till next time, as always, take care of one another and peace.